Hey students, welcome to the 6th lesson in the home piano course. Today's a doozy because we are going to be building on what we talked about last time about intervals. Except if you remember last time I talked about that there's at least two different types of each interval. So remember the interval is the distance between two different notes. So if you like from C to D, it's a second. From C to E is a third. 1, 2, 3. We were just counting, the difference between each of the notes. Well, now things get a little more complicated. One thing I want to tell you is that this far in the course, make sure you really understand your key signatures. Make sure you really understand everything we've talked about so far, because it's about to get a little hairy if you don't understand that stuff really, really well. So we had our unisons, a fourth apart, a fifth apart, an octave apart. So you notice they have perfect written here. That's weird. Well, you're going to have to memorize this part. Unisons are perfect, like me. And you got perfect fourth, perfect fifth, perfect octave. So unisons, fourths, fifths, and eighth, or the octave, all perfect. And if you think about it, it makes sense that if a unison is perfect, an octave would be perfect because they're literally the same note, just 8 notes apart now. So unison perfect, perfect fourth, perfect fifth, perfect octave. Go over that again a billion times. So maybe not a billion. You might run out of time if you do that. So you have your seconds, your thirds, your sixths, and your seventh, the other 4 intervals. You got major, 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 major. So remember, unison perfect, fourth perfect, perfect fifth, perfect octave, major second, major third, major sixth, major seventh. My piano teacher used to go, all right, say them in order. Perfect unison, major second, major third, perfect fourth, perfect fifth, major sixth, major seventh, and perfect octave. See, I still have it memorized, but I think about it like this. So if you could remember, the starting note, fourth and fifth are perfect, and then all of the other ones are major. So perfect, major, major, perfect, perfect, major, major, perfect. Easy, right? Well, we learned that because we're going to start messing with the intervals. There's going to be minor intervals, things like that. Now, the diatonic intervals in a major scale. Here, if you take all these notes, C, and then the top notes each one, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, that's the C major scale, playing all the notes right in a row. So unison, major second, major third. Oh, hey, it's the same thing I just said. Perfect fourth, perfect fifth, major sixth, major seventh, perfect octave. Now, here's the tricky part and why they're telling you this. Diatonic means, by the way, within the key. So if we're in the key of C, it just means that all the notes we're talking about exist within the key of C. Remember, that's no sharps, no flats. Now, it gets a little tricky because say we're in the key of G, right? Remember that we had an F sharp right towards the end of the scale, the next to last note. Well, we have to be careful because, here's your unison, then major second, major third, perfect fourth, perfect fifth, major sixth, major seventh. You have to be careful that when you're starting on different notes, you have to consider what scale you're in because of the sharps and flats and the formula we've been talking about. So if you say, all right, here's G. Well, what's a perfect fifth above G? Well, that's pretty easy. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Easy. But you just have to be careful because a major seventh above G isn't going to be F. It's going to be F sharp because that's the note in the key signature. Like D, for example. The key of D, remember, I'll give you a refresher, has 2 sharps, F sharp and C sharp. So therefore, if you take D, what's a major second above D? Well, it's E. It's pretty easy. It's just the next scale note. So you're always thinking scale notes. What's a major third above D? Is it F? No. Remember that there's an F sharp in the key of D. That's why I said it's really important you understand your key signatures and the like for this. So that's a major third, not F, F sharp. Then you got perfect fourth, perfect fifth, major sixth, major seventh, and then back to the perfect octave. So again, whatever your bottom note is, you're thinking about, all right, I'm in that key temporarily anyway. What note of the scale of that key are we in? And you'll get better and better at that as we go. So here, they're telling us basically, or asking us what notes are what. So you have to say major, M for 3, major for M, third. This one, right away, you can tell that they don't match, right? You have space and a line. Well, remember what I said? I said all even number intervals have that, right? And the second would be really close. Fourth would be there. So this is a 6. I mean, you can go to the piano, start on F, again, knowing that F has 1 flat. So we're going to count up 6 notes in the F major scale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And sure enough, that is a major 6th. You got your unison. Oh, these match, so it's got to be an odd number interval. And it's a really far apart one. And it's not perfect, I'll tell you that much. So go through these and fill this out. I think this part's not going to be that bad. It's when we start building on this that gets a little tricky. Minor intervals is where it starts to fall apart on us, but that's okay, we'll make it through. So you have your major intervals, and then you have their minor equivalents. Major interval, minor equivalent. Major interval, minor equivalent. Well, what's the minor equivalent? Well, from C to D, say we're in the key of C, major second above C is D. Second note in the C major scale. If you flat that note, also known as the half step, right? We've been talking about that. A half step is really a minor second. They are literally a half step apart. By the way, all whole steps or all major seconds are a whole step apart, no matter what. Like from E, a major second would be a whole step. So you can memorize by how many whole steps and half steps, but please use the key signature route. So major, C to D, minor, C to D flat. Now we're in the key of F. They even give us the key signature here. So F to G, that's our major second. F to G flat is our minor second. We just took the major second, boom, flatted it. You can do the rest, G to A is a major, G to A flat is a minor interval. Thirds, same type of thing. Now we're in bass clef. I'm not going to play it down there because I can't reach and talk on the microphone at the same time. So you have from C to E. That's our major third, right? 1, 2, 3 in the major scale. Then C to E flat is your minor. So you're literally taking the major, you're lowering it a half step. So all you do to find a minor interval is you take your major part of it and then you flat it. Or you reduce it by a half step, rather. This is a more accurate way to put it. So you got your seconds, your thirds, your sixths, your sevenths, and that makes sense, right? Because those were the major second, the major third, the major sixth, the major seventh. So all your major intervals can be transformed into minor ones. And here we put it into practice. Name the intervals. These are probably all going to be minor, by the way. Minor second, minor third, minor. What do you think? I'm not going to give you all the answers. You can fill out the rest. Hopefully you understand all that by now. This is where it gets interesting. So we talked about, seconds, thirds, sixths, and sevenths, the major intervals. But what about the perfect ones? What happens if we mess with those? Well, let's take our unison. If you have a unison, G in the same G would be a unison. But say that you took one of those and you sharped it. This is what we call an augmented one or an augmented unison. What if you had, say, a G to A? So there's your major second, and then you sharp that A. That's an augmented second. So when you take, and for thirds as well, here's a third, augmented, third, augmented fourth, augmented fifth, augmented sixth. Oh, they sound so good. Augmented seventh, augmented octave. So when you take any interval, it can be major or perfect, and you sharp it, you bring it up one half step, it makes an augmented interval. And if you think about to augment, it means to make larger, and that's the space between the notes, which is what an interval is. Well, what if we go the opposite route? We take our unison, right? You have C and another C, and then you have, say from C to D rather, sorry. So you have your major second, you have your minor second, and let's say we flat that again. It brings you to what's called a diminished second, which is really strange because C and D double flat are literally the same note. This confuses you. Don't worry about it. This isn't going to come up in music that much. So you have a third now, a major third, C to E. You flat it to minor, and then you flat it again, makes it diminished. So one thing you get out of all of these is when you take a major interval, think about it this way, major interval, right? You flat it, it turns it into a minor interval. If you flat the minor interval, it turns it into a diminished interval. So remember, this is only for majors. Seconds, thirds, sixths, and sevenths. You have your major interval, flat it to minor. You flat the minor interval, it gives you a diminished interval. If you take a perfect interval, fourths, fifths, octaves, and you lower them a half step, does that make them minor? The answer is no. It actually just automatically makes them diminished. So let's keep going while your brain may have exploded. Again, like I said, it's so important you understand everything leading up to here to be able to get this. And you're going to have to read through this stuff multiple times. It took me quite a while to understand all this. So they're showing you all of the diminished intervals here, like that. If you're dealing with double flats at any time, or double sharps, you're probably talking about augmented of some type. You're probably talking about diminished of some type if you see double flats. Name the augmented intervals. Augmented fifth. What do you think? They don't match, so it's an even number interval. And where these are only augmented intervals, so you know that that's probably a fourth. Unison, and then I'll let you do the rest. Write the note, oh, this is going to be tricky, above the given note to complete the interval, the augmented harmonic interval. So remember, and you can, for now, you can use this stuff up here to cheat a little bit since you are new to it. An augmented one would just be from C to C sharp, since we're taking that unison and we're sharping it. An augmented sixth, so we're starting from F here. So we have to think that we're in the key of F major to get this right. So 1, 2, 3. Just remember that F has a B flat, the key of F. So there's 4, 5, 6. So normally our major 6 would be from F to D. Now what did I say? That's a major interval. Oh, we need an augmented 6. Sorry, not a diminished one. But that's fine. We got our major interval. What do we have to do to a major interval to make it augmented? You sharp it, you raise it one, because to augment means to make larger. So you find your major sixth, and then you sharp that top one. So you would have a D sharp up in that land right there. Augmented third. So here's your major third, and you just raise it one to a B sharp. That's your augmented third. Then you can handle the rest of that. Diminished intervals. So you know that's a diminished fifth. You know that that's a diminished third. You know, you can just kind of use your intervals there because you know they're all diminished already. Then you have to write them. This is going to be fun. This is in bass clef. You got to be careful. You're going to be playing it down here. I'm going to play it up here just to make it easy for me and so you can still hear me. We need a diminished fourth. So remember, fourth is normally a perfect interval. If you flat it one, that makes it diminished. So here we go. 4 notes above C is F. You flat it, that gives you your diminished fourth. Diminished fourth, by the way, is kind of tricky because it literally sounds like a major third. So that's why you don't see diminished fourths too much. Diminished eighth, diminished octave. This is easy. G on the bottom, G on the top, that's your octave. And then you lower it. It's already a perfect interval, so if you lower it just one, it doesn't turn it into minor, it turns it into diminished. It's really weird. Solfeggio or solfege and transposition. So, you know, you probably see me talk about seconds, thirds. I mean, obviously, that's why we're here. But you've probably heard this before. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. So, do refers to the first note of the scale. Re is the second. Mi is the third. Fa is the fourth. Sol is 5. La is 6. Ti is the seventh note of the scale. Do. So if we were taking it in like the key of G, remember the key of G had 1 sharp. Whoops. F sharp, towards the end. So you're starting on G now. So you have do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti would be here, do. And that's just another way to say your first note of the scale, second note of the scale, so forth. Say we're in the key of F now, which they have on the paper here. You start on F. Again, we know that you have your B flat in there. Hopefully you have that memorized by now. So it's really just do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. And that's really the main thing you need to know about this for now. The only thing I'm going to tell you is when you take that do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, and you change it to different notes, like we just did, the different keys, they call that transposition. And a really easy way to say what a transposition is like you take a pattern of notes. Say we're in C. We're going to go from C up to G and back down. Now we're going to do the same thing in G. Same pattern of notes, just starting on a different note with the scale notes in between. We call that transposition. I transposed it from here to here. Pretty simple stuff, although I've been learning this a while, so I don't know how simple it really is. It's definitely going to give you some trouble. Like I said, this is probably the hardest unit we've done so far. Now, I'm not going to make you do this, but in music school, they made us sing basically music using do, re, mi, fa, so, or sol, la, ti, do, rather. I was reading it across. So they're just showing you what it would look like on paper. You know, you just need to understand the concept of it. You don't need to sing this stuff unless you really, I mean, you will get benefit out of doing that. I'm not going to lie to you. But I think for this course, you just need to understand the concept of what solfege is and transposition. Solfege especially is, or specifically, is the do, re, mi, and transposition is just changing where that starts on. Oh, look, you got ear training. This is going to be fun. This one might give you trouble. I actually have an ear training course over on my website that does go over some of this stuff that will help you hear these certain things. I also have a lesson on the YouTube channel about this. I think it's just called like ear training. Just type in ear training piano lessons on the web, and I actually go in more detail about how to hear seconds, thirds, fourths, fifths, and so forth. And then there's a review. Yay, review time. We love it. We love music theory and homework. And then we have our I don't want to say last unit of the course, but last unit for now. So we're going to do 8 units or 8 lessons. We're going to take a little break here, and then I will finish out the book, you know, once we get started on the courses again. So anyway, this has been your piano teacher, Tim here. I'm going to put the link to Unit 8 when you're ready. Again, you're going to have to spend a lot of time on this stuff. If you're struggling, maybe go back a unit. You know, make sure you understand that stuff and then come back to this one. You're going to have to read through this stuff again and again and again, I'm telling you. So if you don't get it right away, don't worry about it. It's been your piano teacher, Tim here. Of course, check out the courses over on my website. But, you know, make sure you're subscribed. You have all notifications turned on. I feel like I'm telling you too many things. So go watch the next lesson right here. That's all you got to do. It's been your piano teacher, Tim here, and I'll see you later. Thank you very much.